Hello. Here we are at the long-promised Wild Turkey video. Well, at least the first of them. I'm going to split this up because otherwise it would get a little long and I would get a little bit trashed. So do this in a tour. So I'd been promising this video for a while, but we moved and I just had to throw some things together in the time period that nothing was set up. Our library is, the bookshelf is still not entirely set up, but I thought, I didn't want to hold off on this any longer, so we're recording this now. Wild turkey. Why record, a wild turkey video in the year of our Lord 2021 when bourbon is basically worth more than, I don't know, platinum at this point? Like it is. I was there back in the day. I'm older than most of the people watching this, probably. And I was there 10, 12 years ago when you could still buy, Van Winkle 10 off the shelves because, people were heading to the vodka section. People were not spending a whole lot of their money on bourbon. And here we are now, and things have changed a little bit. So I should theoretically be a little bit over it, including, over the wild turkey side of things. What made me change my mind and want to do a video like this, despite the fact that there's zillions of other turkey videos out there, is this. This is a bottle of Russell's Reserve 10. I opened this for a one-off video, last year sometime. I don't remember exactly when. Just for fun, just as a random bourbon on the shelf to, pop, because why not? And what I found, this is the last of my sort of sip of this, was I was absolutely delighted by it. It was just earthier and greener and more vegetal and a little bit more kind of like funky floral than any other bourbon that I'd had recently, especially even some of the craft stuff, did not get as as green as this stuff. This is like nosing vegetables, and I absolutely love it. And I gave it like an 84. I might have underrated it, but I'm gonna stick by my 84. And trying this made me think, well, hang on. I had always thought of myself in the past as like a Heaven Hill guy. Like, because Heaven Hill is independent. These guys are owned by the same folks who own Appleton, LVMH. So I shouldn't be a big fanboy of these. And I found, having to think back and go back through my old notes from, a decade ago, that the lineup I consistently loved, that I consistently found myself, just giving high marks to, was not Heaven Hill. Let me move this out of the way. It was Wild Turkey. It was sort of like that moment in bad romantic comedies when the main character sort of just suddenly realizes that the person they're in love with is not the person they thought, and it was actually this person they've been hanging out with the entire time, their best friend or whatever. It was kind of like that. Oh God, I love this nose. It is so green though. It's just like it's bourbon and Brussels sprouts is what it is, and it's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, so that made me think. My channel really tries to focus on the things that should deserve more notice, that people should be paying more attention to, and people kind of know Wild Turkey, right? It was in that Punisher movie with the Expanse guy a couple of years ago. It's what Turkey's kind of become like a little bit of the cinematic go-to for a sign of sort of alcoholic desperation. Even though that it doesn't, if you actually know the lineup, that doesn't make sense at all. So it's not like it's unknown, but relative to the rest of bourbon, I don't think enough people are thinking about turkey. There's a couple of others out there. Dickel is one of them. Four Roses is one of them. The nerds know about all of these. But even in that lineup, I feel like like Turkey is getting forgotten, except for the vintage ones. That's kind of a different deal. I'm not gonna talk about that. But the current lineup, I feel, tends to get a little bit overlooked in the flood of other stuff. So we are going to run through it. Just the bourbons. I'm going to deal with the rye another time. And again, we aren't doing the Russell's Reserve 10 because I already did that. I thought about reviewing it again, but then I just thought it might be more fun to just go back and preserve the joy of my rediscovering the turkey signature in that other video. So we will leave it there. Now I split this up into two. For the purposes of this first video, we're going to do the classic 101, but I'm not going to do the 81 bourbon because why would you buy the 81? Why would you buy the 81 rye either? I mean, not that we're going to talk about the ryes. So just the bourbon lime. Oh, and I'm not going to be doing the Matthew McConaughey thing because what is it called? Long branch, something like that. Because it's I don't feel like it has enough of the magic of the rest of the lineup, so we're not going to deal with those. Rare Breed and Russell's Reserve Single Barrel will be getting their own video next time because they kind of make sense together, whereas these two, I feel like, kind of make sense together themselves. Okay, so we're going to talk about 101, which is the classic, one of the best deals in the bourbon world, at least at that price point. And we're going to talk about Kentucky Spirit, which is the quite bewildering in terms of how it lands in the market. I will try to unbewilder these. All right, so let's get started. Some tasting notes. All right, this is the 101 first. So this is probably a 2020 bottling. By the way, can I complain about they always say somewhere on here like that it's a high rye recipe, and a lot of the time when you watch or read reviews of this, they will talk about the rye spiciness of turkey, and I really want to call foul on that because the rye content is only like what 12% or something like that. It's under 15, I know that. And when in a world where we're going up into the 40s, like with some of the craft distillers, that is not like 12-15% is not high rye anymore. I'm sorry, it just isn't. It doesn't count. That being said, you do get a lot of spiciness in this. I just don't think it's because of the the particular layout of the mash bill. We'll get into that in a second. All right, so Turkey 101. So 50.5% ABV. So this one does smell less vegetal than the Russell's Reserve 10. It smells younger. You're still getting a fair bit of oak. So you know those oaky notes, the vanilla bean, a little bit of a coconut shaving note, like you just took the inside of a coconut and shaved some of the outside of the shell. Kind of like a black tea note, but it's more like just supermarket black tea, like you just grabbed some tea bags and kind of smelled them. But all those oaky notes are really going in tandem with these kind of earthy notes, but more so than that, and definitely more so than the Russell's Reserve, like floral notes. This is extremely floral. Extremely. On the nose, actually reminds me in some respects of like a young Calvados or something. It has that sort of floral, slightly citric funk to it. So I'm getting like wildflowers, like a dry dust note, birch beer, sort of big brother of root beer. A lot of orange peel on this, actually. Sort of just peel an orange and then just smell the peel. Wine reviewers have this note called forest floor, which basically just means like dead leaves and kind of grass and dirt, and this is very forest flory, but throw a ton of flowers and orange peel on there. Some pickled ginger, like a pencil dust note. Like you just open, like you're in grade school and you open the pencil sharpener, just threw the dust everywhere, that kind of thing. And like this this is gonna seem funny, but like potted plants, like you went to your grandma's and you just like smelled all her potted plants, and even like there's again there's the supermarket black tea note, but there's also like a, I don't know what to call it. It's not exactly herbal tea, but something that it's like hippie tea, if that makes sense. Like the kind of tea your friend who's like super vegan would drink. That tea. A little bit of honey, like an orange blossom honey. There's lots of orange in this. This for okay for the price point of this, which I think, as I recall, is in the low 20s, depending on where you are. This is a very good nose. Extremely solid. Not very. I mean, it's a very solid nose. On the palate, same kind of thing. You're not getting a lot of what we would call tertiary notes, the sort of fusion of oak and distillate that you're getting more on the Russells, but you're getting tons and tons of notes from the distillate and the oak. So the oak is giving you, the sort of vanilla, coconut, slightly custardy thing. A little bit of dried cherry, not too cherry, not dried cherry, dried cherry. But the oak just cannot stand up to the power of the distillate here. It is just being the little cherries and the coconut shavings are just being beaten down by this explosion of like wildflowers and like just grass, like just field grass, dried grass, orange peel, dried orange peel this time. It's more dried. Like so you just like had it in your trash can for a day and you pulled it out and it was all dried out. That kind of thing. I'm just like drinking old man cologne, like old French cologne from the post-war period. Like Turkish delight, sort of rosewater candy, and that's just such a kind of muddiness, like I'm tasting wet mud or something. Ginger here too, not pickled this time. This is more fresh ginger. I'm drinking this. I'm gonna refill this. A black tea note as well. It's more tea leaves this time than the actual brewed tea. I'm doing this in the late morning, so it'll be an interesting day. We're cleaning the old place. Okay, and there's like a gently cooling herbaceous note on the back end, kind of wintergreen kind of note. Lots of black pepper as well. I guess that's from the oak. Sorry, if you see me glancing around, it's because I realized I do not have my little eyedropper in with me, so we're just gonna have to eyeball this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some water to this and go back to it. Let's see if that's enough. We're good. It doesn't need too much. It swims very well, but you don't really need to get it below about 90 proof or so, in my opinion. Although that's a personal taste issue. I find it opens up a little bit with water, and it's also just a little bit more comfortable for me to drink at that strength. Still don't buy the 81. Just don't do it. You want the 101. All right, moving on to the Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. This was a barrel pick by Binny's, because they're kind of the only place in my area that does whole lot of barrel picks. Damn it, Chicago, we need some competition. This is barrel number 20-0942. It was aged in Warehouse G, if you're curious. Rick number 25. And those people on the internet like keeping track of which warehouses and which, and I'm not gonna worry about that. Okay, so this has always been a little bit of a confused bottle. Like I could never figure out what to do with this because it's way more expensive even than the rare breed, which we're going to talk about next time. This is about $60 in my area versus the 50 for the rare breed, but it's bottled at lower proof. This is bottled at 101 proof, like the 101. It is a single barrel, but still, there's still no age statement. So the question has always been, what is the deal? What is why buy this? Why not just buy rare breed? And that has always been, my question. All right, so we're gonna dip into this. On the nose, I mean, it really smells like the 101, but just louder. Everything is louder. It's like the difference between a studio Motorhead album and a live Motorhead album. That makes sense. Like, it's just everyone's turned up the volume a little bit. Everyone's just that little bit more intense. So the oak is much more here. It's sweeter. It's more confectionery. You're getting kind of a vanilla, kind of some coconut in there, some kirsch more so than dried cherry this time. The black tea thing is still there though. But the distillate, what's coming out the still is also much louder in this. It's more aromatic. It's more kind of floral funky. So you're getting kind of a. It's like, it's still fudgy, but it's like flour fudge and also like mud fudge. There's that earthy kind of dirty muddy note in this on the nose. The cologne note has receded a little bit. Black pepper. Still orangey, not as orangey. But there's some orange zest in this, some candied ginger this time. It's a little bit appley. Like there's like a caramel, like a candied caramel apple thing. It's very very aromatic. It does come across as slightly older, but not much older. It could just be a more active cask, honestly. Some peppermint sprigs, a little bit of almost like bitters, but more on the aromatic side. So we're going more Peychaud's than anything else. It's a nice nose. It's not killing me. It just feels like this, but more. If that makes sense. On the palate. Kind of running the same playbook here. Also comes across like the 101, just more. Gets a little more cherry driven, a little more spicy, a little more black peppery. Like you just like took some cherries and then you started off with a little bit of black pepper and then you just kept going with the grinder. You just covered them. But the distillate's also pretty prominent. You're gonna get floral muddy, like just take dried flowers, cover them in mud. That slightly fudgy note, the cologne thing. There is an orange peel thing. It's more subdued. It's more like a chocolate orange thing. The things you used to have to whack on a table. That's coming through. The finish actually holds for a little bit longer. It's a little bit more intense. It actually covers my mouth a little bit more too. More on pepper and like cherry and good old fashioned fudge than the 101, which is much more sort of floral cologne-y. Ginger, the cologne is still there. The T note is more refined. It's more like a Darjeeling note now. On the back end, you're getting less of those sort of herbal notes, the herbaceousness, more wood tannins. It feels like, it just feels like a more refined, louder, better version of the 101, honestly. All right, so I'm gonna actually, what I'm gonna do first is pour more of this in here, because I was not very generous with my first pour, especially when I'm having to eyeball my water. I want to have plenty in here. Just a hair more. Ooh. I just really like turkey. It's terrific stuff. Okay. I'm gonna go back to this in a second, but I do want to talk a little bit about the earthy character of this and the very, let's go with earthy as a descriptor. That floral muddy thing this does. Initially, when I tried, the Russell's Reserve, I thought they were doing something special with the oak. I thought maybe they were, getting much greener oak or something like that, and it was the greenness of the oak bringing out those vegetal earthy notes. And having, in the meantime, between this and, trying this lineup again, I've kind of changed my mind. The influence being the craft bourbons that I've tried. Not to say that these come across like craft bourbons. They don't. They almost feel more like pre-Buffalo Trace bourbons than that. Is that almost like if you can think of what began to happen with bourbon, I suppose in the 80s when they began to get a little bit more refined, and then as we're moving back towards a more distillate-driven style, with folks like Sonoma and I don't know some of those other little producers. But this feels like something where they just never really went in that more refined direction, or at least didn't go that far. So I'm thinking like the earthiness of this is not about the oak. I mean, it is about the oak in the sense that it's about the combination of the distillate and the oak, but it comes across as just part of the character of what's coming off the stills. It is extremely difficult to find information on the distillation methods of wild turkey. I hunted around for only like half an hour because that's about all the time I had. But they did say, mention on their site, they're using some special yeasts for fermenting this stuff, and that could be part of it. That could be part of what I'm getting is sort of distinctive character of the distillate. But I also think I would be shocked if this was not coming off the still at lowered strength than a lot of the other bourbons out there. I know from what I could find, Buffalo Trace. What else? Heaven Hill just tend to distill to about 140 proof, to about 70% alcohol. That's lower than is allowed than the maximum limit of bourbon, which I think is 80%. But it's still pretty darn refined. I would be shocked if this is coming off the still, at 70%. I don't think it's like, this is not Armagnac territory. This is not coming off the still in the 50s, but like mid to low 60s, I would totally. I know they barrel at lower proof. I think they're actually distilling to lower proof too. I would imagine this is maybe 65, somewhere just a hair lower than that. And I think that's part of the secret. I think it's more character coming from the grains. So when other reviewers talk about the spiciness of this, it's not because there's so much rye content. It's because so much of the congeners from the grains are getting through the distillation process that aren't getting through with some of the other bourbons out there. I could be totally wrong, so if I'm wrong, put in the comments that I'm wrong. Anyways, let's go back to these and back to the 101 now with some water. spilling 101 all over myself. Okay, gets more peppery, and also there's more floral notes, but they become almost like violets now. Yeah, the violets come out to play hardcore. Doesn't develop a whole lot, doesn't, but it's more peppery. The flowers kind of come into focus a little bit better. And there's a little bit of like a toasted marshmallow, almost like burned marshmallows, honestly. If you were like me as a kid and you just let your marshmallows catch on fire when you were putting them in the fire. So sweeter, more peppery, more floral, cleaner floral. That orange note is still there, but it's receded into the background. It's much more dominated by the peppery, floral, sweetie stuff now, and that's great. I still love this nose, and for the low 20s price point. I mean, people complain about bourbon and whine about bourbon because the upper level stuff is being pulled off the shelf by the collectibles market. But I mean, do you really need to worry about that so much when stuff like this is still out there, and when the craft producers are beginning to really step up their game? I've already played this song before, so I'm going to cut it short. But don't worry so much. Enjoy what you got. What's actually on the shelf. On the palette on this on the 101. The orange, the sort of zing from the orange is still there on the palate, actually, pretty strongly. With some black pepper wrapped right around it, and a ton of topsoil and just topsoil and all like dried dirt, dust, herbaceousness, black tea. There's a lot going on here. This is very good. You could almost use this as a substitute for like an aperitif kind of thing, almost like an Amaro. It has that character of extreme aromatics, but also like dirty and bitter, and it's bittersweet at the same time. It is not deeply complex. I mean, it's like the distillates over here and the oak are over here, and they're sort of they're both at play here, but they aren't really playing together, if that makes sense. Which gives us the character of being simple is the wrong word. It's lots of stuff going on, but it hasn't sort of built itself up to a higher level. I would give this 83 points, which in my book is extremely good for something in this price range. Yeah, I mean, if you're not buying this, haven't had this in a while, go back to it. It almost comes across as like a bourbon for Armagnac drinkers or Calvados drinkers, people who enjoy that sort of French style big distillate note on there. Yeah, I like this a lot. 83 points. Could easily serve as a daily drinker. All right, I'm gonna get some water there, and we will go back to the Kentucky Spirit here, our single barrel. So this is sorry, that's my wife telling me that baby's on the way back, so I have to wrap this up. So one of the earliest single barrel bourbons out there, Blanton's beats it, Booker's beats it. Booker's beats everyone. Booker's was really ground zero for everything that's happening in bourbon right now. But came out in '94 as like a special thing, special one barrel pick thing, and here it still is, in its slightly baffling form. All right, with water in it now, on the nose. Again, so it comes across as a very similar kind of signature, just louder, but at the same time a little bit more refined. So you're beginning to get layers of oak. This is what happens. This is the fun that happens with bourbon when it gets older. It's what the taters love. It's that character of kind of oaky syrup, oak built on top of itself until it becomes, quite sweet and fruity. That's beginning to happen here. It hasn't, but it's not at all, running the show. There's a kind of like an exotic old French perfume note kind of thing, but mixed in with like topsoil. And some fresh croissants too. It's nice. Again, like the 101, it doesn't develop that much with water, but it does become a little bit more. Well, the oak comes out to play a little bit more. The pepper comes out to play a little bit more, and the that floral note, which is more perfumey here, becomes a little bit more comes together a little bit better on the palate. Very oaky, very floral, very orangey. All the stuff that's happening here just turned up, and now it's kind of playing together. Now it's a little bit more integrated. So let me explain this, right? This is what you're getting here is basically the best possible version of this. Best possible version of Wild Turkey 101. So in other words, you know how like people on the internet will make databases of Ardbeg batches, and people will hunt around different stores to find the one with the most beloved code on it or whatever. What Turkey has done is they have done the work for you. They have this is the best 101 you can buy, but they're going to charge you the extra money for it. And so instead of the trade-off for having to drive around the entire state for the best version of a $25 bottle is now you're buying a $60 bottle. That's the trade-off. Now you might say, well, why would I buy that when I can just buy, rare breed or Russell Reserve single barrel? Well, because this is for the nerds. I think that's the answer. This is for people who want a special version of Wild Turkey 101. And that's not everyone, right? I mean, but it's a few people. Like, put it this way. I am a huge nerd for the 1996 version of Pride and Prejudice that the BBC put out. Not a lot of people out there are going to be in the market for like an ultra high definition version of, Pride and Prejudice 1996, which costs, 2 or 3 times as much as the regular one. But some people out there really love it, and they're going to go for that. And this is for those people in regard to 101. Kentucky Spirit is just a really, 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 really good version of Wild Turkey 101, where all the little details are that much more visible, that much more vivid, and that much more kind of working together. I still wouldn't give it a huge score. Like, this is not going to score up there with the rare breed. I'm really sorry, even though it costs more than the rare breed. It's just really nice. It's just 101, but kind of improved. Kind of like the best version of 101 you're going to get. The best possible 101. And I would give this a solid 84 plus. It is not blowing my mind. That's for the next video. But it's very solid, and if you really like 101, you need to try this at least once. Split a bottle with a couple of friends, and you will look back and say, why did I spend $60 on that? But then you will never ask yourself, well, what the heck is Kentucky Spirit all about? Because you will have already tried it. You have already got that out of your system. All right, that's all I got for right now. We'll talk about Wild Turkey more in the next video, but I'm running out of time. I need to prep some lunch. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. We'll talk about Russell's Reserve and Rare Breed. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.